sing a song, this little light of mine, I want to let it shine. That's what I want to do. That's why I'm here today, and we'll try to let my light shine. You know that song, you're singing all these good songs. It says, there's a lighthouse on a hillside.
Amen.
That overlooks life's sea. And it goes on to say, Jesus is the lighthouse. And then the last verse, it says, all the folks around us say, tear that old lighthouse down. The big ships don't come this way anymore.
Right.
No need of it standing around. Have you heard that song? It says, we don't need Jesus anymore. Let's tear him down. You say, well, that doesn't apply to us today. But really, what about when they took prayer out of our public schools? What about when they took the Bible out of our public schools? What when they took creation science and prayer? Okay? They took it all out. They're trying to get rid of Jesus right now. While we're in here, they're out there working full time to try to tear that old lighthouse down. I just want to thank Brother Barney at Paducah Christian Festival for letting me come here. It's a great thing. I appreciate it. There in Louisville, they murder over 100 people every year. Over 100. Every year. You wonder, why is that happening? Didn't used to happen. And then America used to have the best schools in the world. Now we're 25th and falling all the time. Why is that? Okay? And then the crime rate. You got all these shootings everywhere you go. They're killing each other. Then you got the drugs. Now, I'm older than most of you. But when I was in school, they didn't have any drugs. None. They didn't have any. We didn't know what marijuana was. We never heard of it. But now we got a huge problem. Half the children have experimented with drugs of different kinds. And here's my question I want to ask you. Why? Why is all of this happening? Why the crimes? Why the murders and the drugs? And in 1950, there were 5 sexually transmitted diseases. Now there are over 30, and it's growing all the time. To me, the question is, why are all these things happening? This is a graph that Eileen made up. Well, she printed it up anyway. This is the number of school shootings every year going back to 1860. Okay? There's not too much going on until you get to the 1960s. And it jumps up more and more and more. What happened in 1960 that started this all off? They took God out of our schools. They took God out of our schools. Okay. Now, here's some more. Teenage pregnancy. It was small until 1960, and it jumped up. Here is divorce. It was small until 1960, and it jumped up. This is David Barton's book, To Pray or Not to Pray. Okay? Here is the SAT scores. They were high until 1960, then they fell. Like I say, America used to have the best schools in the world. Now we're 25th, which is about the bottom of Western countries, Western civilization. It's falling all the time. Here's the violent crime. It's going up and up and up. The question becomes to my mind, why is all this happening? Why did everything fall apart in the 1960s? Well, to me, it's because they kicked God out of our schools, okay? Now, if they try to tell you and me, don't believe in God, don't go to church, okay, they're not going to get too far. But they take a little kindergarten child and say, there's no God, there's no right and wrong, you don't need a savior, just everybody's going along and just forget about God, okay? And the people, we're all animals, and we just evolved out of nothing, and we're all animals. So if you get mad, you can get the other guy before he gets you. That's called survival of the fittest. They got taken in on all of that. So the question is, there's a verse of scripture in Romans 10:17 that says, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. But unbelief and doubt comes by hearing too. And if these children are in school and 8 hours a day, they keep hearing the same thing over and over again, then it's a problem. Now, the Southern Baptists did a study of their children, and they found that over 80%, when they went away to college, they totally lost their faith in God. They stopped going to church, everything, stopped paying their tithe. All right? So that's what happens now. We got a video. We don't have it here today, but it's back in Louisville, and we can get you a copy of it. There's a group of people out in California, and they're chanting. It's about a couple of hundred young men dressed in black with a mask on. They look like they were white guys, but they're chanting, and they say, no Trump, no wall, no USA at all. And now that's not me saying that, that's them saying it. They say, we want to do away with USA. They would like to do away with God, and they'd like to do away with America and freedom and the Constitution, the right to life movement. They don't like that. There are too many people here already. So they're going to try to get rid of some of us. So, okay, I got a letter from just a day or two ago from a guy named Alan West. He was a congressman, and he was a lieutenant colonel in the Army. And he sent this letter out, and basically he's saying that George Soros is sitting in the middle of these organizations. The Ford Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Tides Foundation, Hewitt Packard, the Gill Foundation, a bunch of them. And they say they control the media. They control the media. They want you to believe something, or they don't want you to know about something. They're not going to let you know about it. They don't even ask the question, why are we having all these murders? They don't even ask the question. They don't want you to think that way. Oh, brother. Ronald Reagan tried to put prayer back in the public schools. He got a majority, but they told him he had to have a 2/3 majority, and they didn't quite make that. And the vote went right down party lines. Okay? Right down party lines. So what I'm saying is we're in a war. The people that want Jesus and God, and then we got people that don't want God, don't want Jesus. Take prayer out of school, take the 10 Commandments out, get rid of God. They got the money. How many people heard of George Soros? Okay, well, he's a billionaire, and he's putting all of his money into getting rid of God. Okay? Now, if you read the book of Revelation, it talks about a beast comes out of the ocean. You're going to put 666 on your hand and your forehead. And if you don't go along with what he says, then you're not going to get anything to eat. They believe in a one-world government, a one-world religion, and they want to get rid of America. America is not going to fit in with their one-world government because it's too big and too strong. And they want to get rid of America. They said no Trump, no wall, no USA at all. They want to get rid of America. That's the story. The question is, what does God want us to do about it? Should we just sort of look the other way and forget about it? Or are we supposed to contend for the faith? That's what God said, contend for the faith. He said, occupy until I return. And he said, rebuke the unfruitful works of darkness. What I'm proposing is that we put God back in our schools. Okay? People will say, oh, that's just a pipe dream. You could never do it. Well, there are 3 important miracles that take place in the last 2 years. Number 1, Governor Bevin was elected governor. Now they called, and the news media, I remember saying he's going to lose by 6 points. He hasn't got a chance. And the next morning, it was a landslide. That's a miracle. That's all I can say. It was a miracle. God, that the hand of God was working. You talked about feel the hand of God. That was the hand of God. The other thing they said is that they could never flip the House in Kentucky. They said it could never happen. They've been trying it for over 90 years. They've never been able to do it. Said it'll never happen. But it did. That was a miracle. It could never have happened without the hand of God doing it. Okay? And then Trump getting in. That was another miracle. They said Hillary's got it sewn up and nothing can stop it. But she didn't get in. And they hate Trump because he's pro-life. And they hate pro-life people, so they hate him. Well, I believe that we can put God back in our public school. That's my thing. I think we can do it. Now, we did pass Senate Bill 17 a year ago that says children can pray in the public schools. But they haven't been praying for so long, and it wasn't enough. Nothing is happening. You don't see people out there praying in the public schools, although it was legal, and they sent a letter to all the principals. Still, they're not praying. So we think we need to put prayer, the Bible, the Ten Commandments, and creation science. I think we need to put the whole ball of wax back in there. So how many people think that would be a good idea? Look at this. Did you see that? Now, what we would like to do, I know I'm not going to put prayer back by myself. But if we all work together, I believe we can do it. Now, when we put prayer back in the school, we signed a petition. How many people want prayer back in the schools? Over 100,000 people signed that petition. And when it came up for a vote, we called on a robocall 100,000, all 100,000 of them. When these votes come up, we can call 200,000 in a couple of days. And we can tell you the phone number, the bill number, what to do, how to do it. And with God's help, we, like that little girl said, we can let our light shine. We can do it with God's help. There's Eileen. Eileen, would you stand up? What we'd like to do is get everybody we can. How many people got a robocall about this meeting today? You did. Praise God. Well, there were several robocalls. Well, several people got the call, but I guess they're not here today. But what we would like to do is get the name, address, phone number, and if you can, an email address, and then we can contact you when these things come up for a vote. It's going to take every one of us. Okay, did I say that right? One person is not going to turn this thing around. But if we all get together and we all work together and we all pray together, with God's help, we can turn it around. Thank you very much. So she's going to give you a petition. She's going to give you a copy of that graph that shows the 1960 was when everything went downhill. These guys, they knew what they were doing when they took prayer out of school. They basically trashed our whole nation. So, well, we'll get rid of God. There was a guy during the Revolutionary War, he said, America is great because America is good. That's why they want to get rid of God. So, but we can keep God. We can put God back in our schools. How many think we can do that? Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Frank, you can count on West Kentucky Christian Alliance to help you.
Thank you.
We're big believers in that, what you're talking about. Ronnie, you ready to come on up? Irv will help you on what you need to do. We appreciate Dr. Simon coming. All of y'all coming all over from Louisville, Kentucky. Appreciate that, Dr. Simon. He's been down here several times. I remember seeing him several times in the Paducah area. I guess the last one, Dr. Simon, was when our city illustriously was trying to change the way we feel conservatively. The city passed that LGBT rule, which a lot of people didn't like that too well. But I appreciate you coming, and you sent a lot of robocalls out on that. But I got one on that one. We appreciate your.
You're a VIP.
Yeah. But you let us know anything we can do here in Paducah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a big high school over here in Paducah, McCracken County that's not too old that we might want to try that on. So you keep that in mind. We'll see what we can do with that. Okay.
Hi, I'm Dr. Frank Simon. I'm an allergist and family doctor, board certified in both allergy and internal medicine. I specialize in allergy, headaches, sinus, hives, cough, asthma, hypertension, and diabetes. We're located at 1404 Browns Lane near Norton Suburban Hospital. Our phone number is 895-5088. We can see you tomorrow. Talking about the Las Vegas shooting, there's a lot of evidence that it was a Muslim terrorist. Because of Obama, the FBI cannot think in those terms. Right. Is that right?
Exactly. And not only there, it's in several different areas. The State Department, for example.
So he fired all of the, what you call open-minded people and put in just the pro-Muslim people.
Exactly, because we're trying to convince America that, well, Muslim is just another religion.
Yeah.
And to attack them as heretic.
Yeah.
And you look at the Clinton, when she was Secretary of State, and her top aide was Huma Abedin, who was her family, her father, her mother, her brother, are all members of the Muslim Brotherhood. And the Muslim Brotherhood goes back into the 1920s. And Iran is a product of the Muslim Brotherhood. They're financing and supplying radical organizations. And you could name, there's about a dozen of it. We hear all these names, Boca,
all over the world.
Those are all in the Arab names and all that. Hard to identify and all that. But this book that he's written is a very important thing. And a sheriff in California that read it said it needs to be in the hand of every police officer in America. He's got it. And our members of our national government, our security agents who have read the Jihad Generation and are wise enough to keep it handy as a handy reference, they become far more better to protect the United States.
It seems to me that Obama did a lot more damage than anyone realized at the time by getting rid of all the open-minded people in the FBI and the State Department and different places in government and put in pro-Arab, pro-Muslim, pro-terrorist, if you will, people throughout the government.
And at the same time, they have built hundreds of mosques all over America. They are staffed by the Wahhabis, the radical group that runs Saudi Arabia, who have been blackmailing them for the money that's needed to buy and build these things. And 4 students at the University of Southern Illinois went up and bought several hundred acres of land in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Indiana. And they have built this great mosque and all this training center and all that, and nobody knows what goes on there.
Yeah.
At the same time, you've got a city in Michigan who have elected the first Muslim city council that are imposing a Sharia law. All of these things are happening very quietly. And this is the thing about the Muslims and their patience, their ability to let this thing keep going and keep going and going.
It's amazing. Last week we had a program, in part at least, on the Antifa, the anti-fascist people. And it turns out they are in bed with the communists. And there was a piece on Geller, the Geller report, saying that they were shipped over, a lot of them were shipped over to the Near East to learn how to be terrorists like the Muslims and to blow up stuff and cut your head off and all of that.
Now, this is another thing about the shooter in Vegas. He made several trips to the Middle East. Nobody knows where he went or what he did or who he talked to.
Yeah.
So all of those things are out there. But again, going back, all of this has been happening slowly over a long period of time. The media, the academic community, all of these different things that are going on. The thing we watch with the football. And if you remember, even here in Jefferson County, during the beginning of the busing that took place, they were told that the children no longer had to stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. This was back in the 70s. So all of these things have been slowly growing. Really, it's sort of under the radar in terms of the average person. we're concerned about the other problems we have and everything else, but at the same time, these other things are happening, and they're far more serious than anybody realized.
Right.
And this is one thing that John has pointed out, and the book that he has written, there's several people that have seen copies. I've ordered one. It's not available at retail out there, sadly, but you could go to Barnes & Noble, places like that, and order the book, and it's well worth the effort. I'm looking forward to reading the details of the things, particularly the 13 points that he illustrated involving the shooter. But again, that's just another sample of things. It's a horrendous crime, should have never happened, and people don't know why. We're trying to explain it in other ways, but not getting to the roots causes of what's causing all these things to happen. We saw that in California and in all these other places. We saw it down in Florida. All of these things that nobody knew he was bad, or nobody knew that couple and that new little baby, and all. These are the things that people and the media does such
The media is bought and paid for by the left wingers.
Exactly.
And they put just enough real news in there to deceive you. Now, this whole video is on YouTube at Viable, VIABLE, Assessment, ASSESSMENT. It's on YouTube. It's a week or so old. It gives you all of the information about how Obama removed all of the open-minded people in the FBI so he could put his pro-Islam people in there. So it's an amazing, eye-opening event. Let me just say this while we're thinking. We've got these things we'd like to give you. Here is Together Under God, Invincible. I don't know where the camera is, this way or this way. And here's the Jesus bumper sticker. You can put it on the back window and tape it in. So all these things are free. And if you want one, all you have to do is call us and we'll send it right out to you. And the other one is this Jesus video. It's the birth, the life, the crucifixion, the resurrection, and the soon return of Jesus. And it's free too. The number to call to get them is 895-5025. So give us a call and we'll send this out to you totally free because we want to get the word out on what's going on and save our country and our family.
Well, if you look at this thing about political correctness and all the other things that have literally actually trying to destroy the freedom of speech. And all these things are going on, and there's another group that was involved in Washington and the Obama administration called the Organization of Islamic Cooperation.
Oh, yeah.
And one of their things was along that line, stopping that. They said that free and open discussion of the true nature of radical Islam must be prohibited and even criminalized. All these kind of things have been going on. This is where Christians need to stand up. And as you've mentioned in the past, the classic example is Onward Christian Soldiers.
Amen. Amen. This 11-minute DVD segment, we have that recorded. And if you want a copy of what it says here about how Paddock, Stephen, I guess his name is, Stephen Paddock, was indoctrinated into the Islamic faith, there's huge amount of evidence that he was a Muslim terrorist that shot up Las Vegas. The FBI is confused because they've been told that Muslims never blow up anything and all that. And the Obama administration has tried to put a pro-Islam spin on everything. And they have got their people in the FBI and in, I guess, the Department of Justice and the State Department.
All levels of government have been told
infiltrated.
Their political correctness. You can't attack another religion, all the other things. And all that pressure from the top. I've talked to a former FBI agent, been retired for some time. He said the similarity between what I experienced all the years I was with the FBI and what's going on now, I can't even get a handle on it. So all those things are happening, but it's been a slow process, and we've missed it in a lot of sense. There have been books written. I've been collecting them and reading them, and all these things have been going on for quite some time. You can take the history, the strategy, and the doomsday vision of the caliphate, one world order controlled by the Muslims. It's a very thing. Arab had a thing about it. They have something that it's in the Quran about you have to make war
against
Christians. The infidels.
Yeah.
And the infidels. It goes back to the Crusades. I finished some study of the Templars and others that have fought the Muslims in the Crusades. There were 5 of them. We talk about 2, but there were actually 5, and all that's been going on. But the first time that the Arab Muslims have had an opportunity to attack the West had been after the breakup of the Ottoman Empire at the end of World War I, where the British and the French divided the countries, created all these different little kingdoms because of their need for oil. Yeah. All of those things were going on at the same time. Then the Muslims had been frustrated, and they came up with the idea of how to do it in a form of infiltration, of doing it from the inside, and all of these things have been going on is their attempt to get even with what the West had did to them, to their culture, and it's been 100 years. And they have an old thing about the need for revenge. It's mandatory. If you've been insulted or harmed, you have to make restitution. And there's one old proverb in the Arab world that says this Muslim sheikh had been insulted, and 20 years later he gets revenge. And the word around the camp was, what was the rush?
And we have this little booklet on the Muslim Brotherhood and their plan to conquer America. And I want to put this on the Facebook and put it on the television. And this is free also. We've got a supply of these. Most people don't know how the Muslims are trying to take over America.
It's not somebody else's words. It's their words exactly.
Their own words, exactly.
How they plan to do this. And this was involved in a house in Virginia, involved terrorists. And after they were arrested and all that, they did a search warrant, and that's when they found these documents.
Where they themselves said, we're going to take over America.
Exactly. And
you've
got the same thing going on in various parts of Europe.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's an international problem, and it's growing every day, and there's very little attempt to turn it around and to fight this thing. It's one that every man, woman, and child needs to be aware of and be informed about.
Now, the number to call to get all of this free information, 895-5025. You can call right now. Leave your name, address, phone number, and your email address, because we put out emails every week about what's going on in Washington and what to write to your congressman. And all you have to do is click on an action button on the email. Bingo, it goes to the right congressman. It says the right thing. And everything that's going on. Frankfurt, there's problems in Frankfurt right now. We need to put our 2 cents worth into that. So give us a call, 895-5025, and get your book about Muslim Brotherhood and how they're trying to take over the United States. And they're doing a pretty good job.